Hey there, happy Friday. Boy, what a topic for today and for maybe the next several months. How resilient are you? Meaning, how not just tough, but how are you able to accept change, and how are you able to bounce back? It is really, for some people right now, it is a tough row to hoe during this time of battling a disease worldwide and trying to keep our heads on straight, right? As all this is going and swirling around us. Be careful regarding how much news you're watching. Get just the amount that you need, but try not watching news 24/7, or you know what I mean, that you're watching it all night long. Your mind needs a respite from that, some rest. So how does this pertain to this page, and what can you do during this time if you are in the group where your work has been shut down for 2 weeks to a month? I know somebody that is just starting up a business right now. Just starting up a business, signed a lease, and the lady who cuts, the young woman who cuts my hair. And so, not the best time to start a business, but she could not have foreseen this yet. So is it a good time to launch into the paralegal field? You know what, it's a good time right now if you find yourself that you are working from home and you're in that group, or you are, all of a sudden you have 2 to 4 weeks off. Now's the time to hunker down. And if you are in school and school's been shut down, if you're taking something online, that certainly is not shut down. But if you're having to go in person, many schools are shutting down because the governors of some states have passed laws saying more than 250 people cannot gather together. So, and that just happened in New York City, where more than 500 people can't gather together, which virtually shut down all of Broadway and any kind of Madison Square Garden type of concerts and that type of thing. So it's as much as we can, we've got to accept change, and for even if it's just for a moment, and it feels like it's much more impactful than that with this, right? So focusing on the things that you can handle and you can do and you can work on is very important. And let me read a couple quotes. Most people have attained their greatest success just one step beyond their greatest failure. Talking about bouncing back. And that was by a very well-known businessman named Napoleon Hill. So here's a point to think about. A strong support system is the key to resilience. Never underestimate the power of good relationships to help you through difficult challenges. So when, for instance, just being on this page and asking questions that you come up with, that you're wondering about, this is part of your support group for the paralegal career, or being part of the paralegal break-in free group if you're not currently a paralegal or in the legal field at all. It's for people not in the legal field, okay? Going through change as the whole world is experiencing right now can be very tough. We have family members that are going to fly out, I think it's on Sunday, and end up in Orlando, and we're planning to go to Disney. That's no big whoop about, well, that didn't work out. Big deal, right? In the face of people experiencing health challenges. But what where I was planning to go down there, I'm making a change in my plans. And because I am at risk being an asthmatic, and I have to be very wise about this. And while I would like to gather with the family, I will be gathering with many more people that could expose me to a risk, because I virtually have no immune system. It's been like that for years. And so I catch everything, and I don't need this. And so it's a disappointment, but it's small potatoes compared to what other people are going through right now. So there's that kind of change up in meeting with people who are part of my support system, where they may have to come to my house and visit me there, which is just, it's a good hour and a half north of Orlando. So, you know, that we have a change of plans. But what can you do if you are part of the group that has now time and you'd never expected to have this time? What are you going to do with it? This is the time to prepare for the ultimate interview that you will go on when you're whether you are taking a 2-year degree, whether you are going through a certificate program online, or whether you are you have a high school diploma and you want to get into this career. Now's the time to do a lot of research on Google, okay? And watch a lot of the videos here and on my YouTube channel, Paralegal Career Mastermind. So take the time to bone up and don't leave it to the end, and use your notebook to track everything that you're learning, okay? And use that time wisely instead of worrying. So for me, I've got to let my family members know that I won't be traveling down there, and they'll have to roll with it, and they can come up to see me. But more than that, it's what are you going to do with the time allotted to you to make a change that you're hoping to make into a brand new career? So with that time, what can you learn? What can you learn about a few areas of law and what paralegals do in each of those areas? Use Google for that. Don't say, I don't know what area. I won't know until I'm in it. No, you have to know beforehand. You know, in my book, Legal Break-In, I go into some inside views of certain areas of law and what a paralegal's typical day is like in those areas of law. That's very important to know, so that you know some of those duties you'll be performing, okay? Be sure to get the free chapter of my book, Legal Break-In, which is on my website, Paralegal Coffee Talk. Okay, be sure it's paralegalcoffeetalk.com. Trying to find my glasses here. And get that free chapter. You'll see it at the top. I'm just trying to see. If you have any questions while you're on here with me, please feel free to ask. So what we're dealing with, we can't change it. We can squawk and make our opinions known, which is important, and our disappointments known as to the readiness of the powers that be into the potential pandemic, right? But we are seeing right in front of us, laws being changed to accommodate us during this time, where people who work in the restaurant industry do not have benefits, will not have tips coming in. That's very concerning to me. I have a real heart for people who work in the restaurant industry and work in service like that they won't have work. And so any way that we can support people during that time that have mom and pop businesses, even if it's getting a takeout type of thing, to support them is very important, because they won't survive during this time if we don't support them. Oh, thanks, Tracy. I think that we can be easily overwhelmed, not just by what's going on in the world, but overwhelmed with getting into the paralegal field. Excuse me. It can be overwhelming if we look at the big picture, but we've got to bite off a piece one at a time. So when I say go research areas of law, make that your goal for this weekend and find out what paralegals do. Don't be overwhelmed by it, because even if you look at each of those duties, you kind of figure out what does that mean and research that and just dissect it piece by piece, because you don't learn it overnight. You could learn this over a period of 3 to 6 months, not where you've got it 100% down. There's no such thing as 100% perfection when you start in the paralegal field, but you want to be ahead of the curve when you walk in that door on the first day, where you have more confidence than you ever thought you'd have. So, but that comes with learning ahead of time. Don't isolate yourself so much so that the panic and anxiety starts to come in, again, regarding what's happening in the world, but also regarding this new thing that you're going after, this new career. Don't isolate yourself. Start to ask those questions. Remember what I say, that paralegals within the law firm who are new, and even seasoned veterans, have to find out answers to things. We have to ask questions. We don't hide in a corner, whether we're introverts or not. And I am an introvert by my original nature, but over the years, I've morphed kind of in the middle. I still had to force myself to ask questions and speak up. So I understand that mindset, but that can't be used as an excuse, either here or in the law firm where you finally work. You have to ask questions, because making assumptions is not allowed in the law firm, never, because that will just bring on some problems. So researching, but asking questions in Google to find out answers. You'll be amazed at what pops up. So bounce back over and over again and choose to push back on panic and anxiety and unbelief, insecurities. I've had somebody, and fear. I've had somebody say to me, but Leslie, you don't understand. Fear is real. I understand fear. I understand fear. Most humans do. But when I say push back, I'm saying that from experience. That I'm not going to accept this. I'm not going to live in fear. That's why I say limit how much news you watch every day. Be careful with that. Educate yourself, but then watch something else that takes your mind off of it, or go focus on Google and search for something that's going to build you up, build this career for you, and teach you something. Okay? You don't understand a word, look it up. That's what we do as paralegals. When we are trying to find an answer for our attorneys, we don't have anybody else we can turn to for guidance normally, unless it's a seasoned paralegal, and that can help us. And that has often been the case. But you may go into a law firm where there are no other paralegals, and you have to find out answers on your own. That's just what we do every day, though. That's the norm. Okay? So, how would you like a potential employer to see you personally? As a person who has that ability to change and morph with changes, who can be resilient, who can bounce back from change, who's not going to pout and whine and carry on when changes come about. I was just at my bank, and they were dealing with new software, and the people that instituted the new software for the bank said it would be much easier than the old system, but the old system would remain up in case they needed to go back to it for a time. Well, the new system isn't all it's cracked up to be, and they're trying to be resilient and roll with the change. But when they have a customer sitting in front of them like myself, and they're not able to perform their service, they get really nervous. I've been there. And so I said, don't worry about me, because I've had to learn new software over a weekend and then be an expert in it by a Monday for my attorney. And so they said, well, that was a lot of pressure. I said, well, you feel the pressure too. That change happens. When my attorney requested that of me, Leslie, could you please learn this software? I have to be on a phone call on Monday, and this was on a Friday. Could you learn this? And I said, oh yeah, I'll check it out. And I had to pretend when I was learning the software that I was putting a new case in there as if I had a time limit on myself, which I did, but even a tighter timeline, and to put a little stress on myself to just move faster. And I read some of the stuff they send with the software, the notebook, and I looked at it, but I just started playing in it. And I pretty soon discovered how long it took me to put something in. This was important for the phone call on Monday. So little did I know that I would be placed on that phone call. And I was able to find out that somebody who said they had accomplished something, it was an attorney on the other end that wasn't part of our law firm, that there was a lot of lies being told. And that all came out in that phone call. It was really kind of amazing and weird at the same time. I felt that I would do the best that I could with that software, and that was it. You know, and there was no choice. If I wanted to be looked, you know, at as a valuable employee, I had to learn it. So putting that pressure on ourselves right now, if you have extra free time and or you want to stop this thinking about what's going on in the world so much and focus on this, because it will take your mind off all of that out there. I know that's what I'm doing. I'll go do art stuff at night, or I'm taking the dogs out for a walk. I'm trying not to focus constantly on that, okay? And I recommend that for you too. You want your potential employer to look at you as somebody that rolls with being, you know, they make a request of you, that you're not going to go into shock. You're going to ask questions. You're going to find out what those answers are. And it may be that right now you don't have the confidence, but that's okay. You will build confidence as you learn even parts of new skills and go up that way and track it all in your dollar notebook. Because, I mean, I have so many notebooks. One day I've got to go through and just toss stuff. But it's where I write down ideas, or as I'm trying to learn something, I'm writing down how I did it so that I don't have to recreate the wheel. Do you make change? The question for you today is, do you make change easier or harder on yourself and those around you? It's time to switch it up. Where when I had to learn something new, even using the washing machine, I was afraid I would break something when I was a young teenager. I wasn't allowed to use it. And finally, I said because my grandmother lived with us, and between my mother and my grandmother, they did it all. And I finally had to say, I want to wash my own clothes. And frankly, Grandma was destroying my clothes. So, and I loved my grandmother, but that was her MO. So I was very nervous about it, very insecure, afraid I would hurt something and then cause damage. I mean, it was ridiculous. So don't be that fearful. Just go attack the things that I say in my videos to research on Google, go look it up. And even if you don't know what the heck you're doing, just go look it up. And if there's something in there that you're not sure what they mean, look that up so you can teach yourself, okay? What would it look like if you became more resilient, if you had more of an ability to accept change and more of an ability to roll with the flow? It's really what resiliency is, rolling with the flow. Easier than it really is, right? But it is a mindset and it is a choice. I used to get really nervous about change and really kind of panic stricken or full of anxiety. But I had to learn how to accept that there would be something new and different coming down the pike, and I would just have to cope with it. When I developed asthma, I had trouble coping with that when I was in my early 20s, and I was newly married, had a young child, and all of this was coming at me. But there was no choice. So with a job like this, you either sink or swim, but you can really learn how to swim before you ever send a resume or cover letter out. Learn how to swim and learn all this way before you send that out. Don't send a resume and cover letter out and then get down in the dumps because nobody's responding, because they don't know how you're going to help them, and you have to learn how to help them before you ever send anything out. Okay? And that comes with work. So if you have some extra time right now, or time that you're not allocating like you should, well, now's the time to do it. Okay? All right, so hopefully this was helpful. Today I just felt led to talk about this issue. We have to adapt to change all the time in the law firm. The court comes down with a ruling we never expected. Whoop, here we go. We've got to adapt to change. It's an everyday occurrence, and we've got to figure out how to handle it. That goes for the attorneys as well. All right, so have a great one today. Let me know if you have any questions whatsoever in the meantime, and I will talk to you in the next video. Okay, don't watch so much news. Give yourself a break. Take care. Bye.